ask of you today that everything be said and done by your honor and by your glory. Steer us, be with us, cover us under your blood, Lord. We seek your face in righteousness. We trust and believe in you, Lord Jesus, because you have the power to do all things, Lord Jesus. And I pray, Lord Jesus Christ, that you take over right now the meeting, and let everyone be said and done by your honor and by your glory, Lord. You direct the word, Lord Jesus. You protect us, Lord Jesus Christ, this afternoon, and you take full control. In the name of Jesus Christ, we ask for your blessing. In Jesus Christ's name, we give you thanks. Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you very much, Reverend. And now we invite Mayor Councillor Bertel Moore to bring the welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Honorable Desmond McKenzie, CDMP JP, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Member of Parliament from Western Westmoreland, Mr. Wilson, Member of Parliament for Eastern Westmoreland, Mr. Daniel Lawrence, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to you all here this afternoon. Let me say that it is indeed a pleasure of mine to welcome the minister in White House. And on this occasion, I think it is very, very appropriate, because as we are moving into the hurricane season, it is good that we have a town hall meeting like this here this afternoon. We all know what hurricane season gives. This is something that most of us experience already in our lives. And it is important that tonight, each and every one of you listen very carefully and know what you are supposed to do if we should have a disaster in Jamaica or in your parish. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you once more, and I do hope we'll have a very fruitful forum this afternoon. Thank you very much.
The Member of Parliament for Westmoreland Eastern to make remarks.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, lovely crowd. I am enjoying it. This is what I was looking for in White House, and we got it. We just want to welcome our Minister of Local Government, the Honorable Desmond McKenzie, in our space. We are really and truly happy to have him with us here today. And to tell you the truth, with my little experience so far, he is really a great minister. Welcome, His Worship, the Mayor. Mr. Bertel Moore. I've been working with him in Westmoreland and a mutual basis, but we continue to work together. And we are working for the people. Welcome, Mr. Mayor. We have with us my own colleague from Western Westmoreland, Mr. Moreland Wilson. And I just want to say, guys, ladies and gentlemen, all the agencies who are here with us today to share and to partner with us and to highlight us about disaster preparedness, we welcome you all. It is well fitting, and I do enjoy being a member of Parliament to stand before an audience of this nature. And I just want to tell you thanks, and I'm looking forward to the best here this evening for our vigorous and robust town hall meeting. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me also extend special welcome to Moreland Wilson, MP for Western Westmoreland, and invite him to bring a brief remark.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening to everyone. I'm happy to be here, and I want to take this, although I'm not on the program, I want to take this opportunity to welcome our Minister of Local Government to the parish. And as MP Lawrence said earlier, he has been tremendous support to Westmoreland, and we are here to have a town hall meeting about disaster preparedness. And it's quite fitting, being that we are now in our hurricane season. And it's projected that we will have roughly 3 to 9 major hurricanes, 6 to 9 major hurricanes this season, which would be something that we really don't want. But in the event that these things happen, we want to be prepared. And I'm happy to see the mayor, Bertel Moore, and the council for the Negril Division. I'm also happy to see other agencies. I'm happy to see National Work Agency here, because I do get a lot of cussing, sir, when the roads need some repair. And we have, of course, DSP Adrian Hamilton. Crime is also an issue affecting the parish. I'm happy to see the representative from the fire brigade and other agencies. I see ODPM, and I think health is also here. I also see somewhere in the audience earlier someone from National Solid Waste, which deals with our garbage collection. So I think we'll have a robust discussion, and I would just end by saying, let's have a very productive meeting. Everyone will want to say something, but let's do it in order. All right, so thank you everyone, and hope you enjoy your evening.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, you'll notice on your program we have an item for you. We're going to skip that and get straight into the presentations. So for the first presentation, I'm inviting Mr. Floyd McLean, the Assistant Commissioner from the Jamaica Fire Brigade, to speak with you.
Good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Honorable Minister Desmond Mackenzie, His Worship, my good friend, Mr. Bertel Moore, I am here this evening to present on the role of the Jamaica Fire Brigade within the whole disaster response matrix. What do we do? What is the functions of the fire brigade. Now, the fire brigade is mandated to respond to all emergencies that threatens life and property within Jamaica and its territorial seas. Now, it entails everything that has to do with flooding, primarily fires, whether in our homes or in our workplaces, and also other duties that falls under support. So primarily, we respond to all fire emergencies, all other accidents, whether in a home or on the road. So we are equipped to do that. But specifically, we will narrow down the presentation to Westmoreland. So I don't have a long time, but I will do my best to tell you what this arm of the local government ministry is doing. So we have 2 fire stations within the Westmoreland division, and our response is presently good, of a very good nature. We have, as a matter of fact, recently acquired 3 units, new units, valuing over $360 million to put them in place, and that has significantly boosted our response capabilities. Notwithstanding the units, we still have the other areas of the fire brigade within the Westmoreland division, like our fire prevention unit, which by our mandate goes to the communities, go to the businesses to ensure that you are doing the correct things to mitigate against fire and other disasters. We also work along with all agencies of government that would respond to any emergency that threatens life and property. So we work along with ODPEM. We respond in first instances to some of the disasters, natural or man-made, and some disasters we go and we stand by. We work with the police, we work with JDF. As a matter of fact, when it comes to search and rescue, we operate on the ground to help with the search and rescue, while JDF would give us aerial support along with JCF and other agencies. So when there is a hurricane, when there is an earthquake, when there is a large fire, as a matter of fact, recently, last week, thereabout, we had a soldier who came over for vacation and went down to Lover's Leap. And firefighters were there with members of the community, police, and other agencies searching for that gentleman. And we found him way down in the night, maybe about 9 o'clock. Thankfully, he was not seriously hurt, just some scratches and bruises, suffering from dehydration. So these are some of the things that we do. We are equipped fully at both stations to respond to all emergency, whether it want to be a tree falling in a road, on a house, anywhere that it would prevent persons from traversing and moving about. Well, when there is a landslide, we work along with the NWA, who would clear the road at that level. But we have chainsaws, we have circular saws, we have the kind of tools that can break and enter into any place that we believe life and property is threatened. So we are fully equipped. We have presently 4 working fire units, to include a water tanker that carry over 12,500 or 12,500 liters of water that can go any point within the division to assist in firefighting. We don't just fight house fires, we fight car fires, we fight bush fires, because many persons don't know. When you light your rubbish or light your farm for planting, it can escalate and take over houses and also lives. So we are always there we respond within the minute. So the fire brigade plays a very important role in respect to disaster response. So you must know that the Negril Fire Station, the Sablamar Fire Station are with telephones that you can call. There is also that national number you can call. You have to make yourself even more aware of the numbers that are seated at ODPEM, because there are other situations. In the parish, we have a parish disaster committee. We have a national coordinator or a local coordinator, disaster coordinator, who works along with the municipal corporation. So those persons, you can touch base with them, and they will make you fully aware of how to contact the fire brigade and other agencies when there is a problem. And just for information, we are asking the citizens of Westmoreland to be much more careful, because we, the fire brigade, since January to the end of last month, respond to over 520 emergencies. And of these, 213 of them were genuine fire calls, 9 commercial buildings and 61 residential buildings. So we are saying there are quite a number of persons who have to go to poor relief or the municipal corporation to get assistance, whether a bed or go to friends to find somewhere to sleep. Notably, 207 of these response calls, or the calls that we got, were accident calls. And out of the 207, 127 of them were bike accidents. So the fire brigade is equipped. We go out there. Unfortunately, we cannot save a life. We cannot save a life when you take your life. We try our best to stabilize. As a matter of fact, we have not been reporting serious or consistent death when we respond to a fire situation. So let us understand that the fire brigade is here to assist in the whole process of emergency response. So what you need to do is inform yourself of what the different agencies would do, and don't forget anything at all. And I will end by saying this. The government of Jamaica, the Ministry of Local Government, is making all the effort it can to do what? Equip the necessary agencies, and I know that for the fire brigade, for one, to be able to further assist the communities. In the future, we will have new fire stations. It comes with heavy cost. It comes with heavy cost, and I know, working in Westmoreland before, I know that people are saying Bethel Town and Seaford Town and other places, because in truth and in fact, we are aware. And once the brigade is aware, the ministry is aware, the minister is aware, and plans are in place to ensure that these far places, just remember, don't be too impatient with the fire brigade, because it takes approximately 45 minutes and could be more to reach Bethel Town and other satellite communities. So our job is to tell you to be prepared. You can call us. We will come into your homes and we will tell you what to do to be safe, because it's not pretty when you are left outside. So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. When you hear the warning for a hurricane, leave the low-lying areas, because although we have persons trained to rescue people and we have dinghies to travel on flooded areas, guess what? Sometimes you succumb to that problem before we reach there. And remember this, a part of every emergency response agency is to ensure that their members are safe before they can come. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner. Commissioner kind of draw me out a bit, you know. I am a former resident of Westmoreland. I lived in Negril for a very long time. and I also lived in White House up at Tropical Sunshine Properties. And so when the Jamaica Fire Brigade talks of fires in this parish, it really moves me. So I have a public announcement to make. I'd like to remind us here today that if you have questions and you are not so comfortable asking, we have a secretariat outside on in the tent. There are representatives from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, the ODPEM, and also the SDC, and they'll take your questions for you, and I will read them for you if you're not comfortable. But outside of that, when we get to the question and answer segment, we're going to walk around with the mics, give them to you, and you can ask your question. So it brings me to another painful point for Westmoreland and White House doing, and that is my colleague who we're inviting now to come speak to you from the National Road Safety Council. Accidents in this parish gone up. I've lost friends from the grill on bikes. I don't know how two bikes collide head on. I don't know. You have to be like very special for that to happen. So I'm going to take the time, and it's a government position now to say this has become almost another hazard, right, Minister? So we're trying to address it. So today we have Mr. Jason Stewart. He's a road safety officer from the National Road Safety Council. Colleagues from White House, Westmoreland, and all over from our NNN listenership. I'm going to say to you, listen up and hear what you can do to help to prevent the accidents of your loved ones, your family members, your brothers, your fathers, your cousins. So put your hands together and welcome Mr. Stewart.
Honorable Minister Mackenzie, gentlemen to the table, good day. Chair, good afternoon. Everybody, good afternoon. Greetings. I bring greetings from the Ministry of Transport and Mining, Road Safety Unit, and Road Safety Council. It is of great concern that motor vehicle accidents have been an issue for the past 10 years. Today, as of today, 251 persons have died. 251 persons have died, comparing to last year, 255. That is a 2% reduction. That is too much. 251, too much. Westmoreland is a bike parish. 26 persons have died in the parish thus far. 26. And of those 26, motorcycle accounted a whole lot. Motorcycle accounted for a whole lot. 10% of these persons died are from motorcycle crashes. Now, we at the Road Safety Unit and at the Council, we are here to educate and to promote road safety at all costs. Educate and to promote road safety at all costs. Right from the ground level, from school to community. And we are here right now. There are some bad behaviors that my director and other persons and other stakeholders have identified. And we have identified some of the issue, which is the light. The type of light at night. The type of light that is in the vehicle or on the headlamp. Those are some of the issues that is faced. And it will be rectified as soon as possible from another department called the Island Traffic Authority, right? Now, a lot of persons have been asking the question, the motorcycle, the noise. It is of great concern, not just for Westmoreland, but Jamaica on a whole. The issue is we are trying to rectify that as best as possible. And firstly, we should not be taking out our silencer from the muffler. It should not be removed. None at all. It should never be removed. The police will be working in tandem with the Island Traffic Authority to rectify this thing as soon as possible. Believe it or not. There are some harsh penalty that will come out as soon as the Road Traffic Act is sorted out. It is now in amendment and it's now being sorted out, right? But for most part, if we know the right thing, we should do the right thing, as my parents would say. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. We cannot be doing the opposite and expect to survive, right? Persons are traveling over the speed limit. These are some of the issues that we are facing in our society. We need to obey the speed limit at all costs. We need to obey at all costs. We should not be allowing police to correcting us. It is of our utmost best to do the right thing. Do the right thing in Westmoreland. Westmoreland accounted for a quite amount for last year. 161 motorcyclists have died last year in Westmoreland. Now, 66 motorcyclists have died. And this is after the year. After the year start. By December, we double it to 120. We have to talk. It is your responsibility to speak to your family member who have a motorcycle. Right? We are educating, we are promoting on social media, on different media platforms. We are trying our very best. We have been in the parish issuing helmet from last year. We will continue to do that. Not just in Westmoreland, in St. Elizabeth and other surrounding parishes. So the government is working assiduous in trying to tackle this issue. We cannot allow this to continue. It is your responsibility of everybody, not the government, responsibility for everybody to ensure that they do the right thing. Okay? It is very important. Now, the ministry is on the foot to ensure that we educate, as I mentioned, educate the public as best as possible, educate the public on road safety, and especially for Island Traffic Authority and the council. We are working very hard to educate the public before police take action. So the silencer, as I mentioned before, the tinting of the vehicle, right? The tinting of the vehicle. We have to know what the amount. A question will be asked shortly. Sorry that the Island Traffic Inspector is not here to follow that question, but it is good that you can know what is going on. Eventually, the act will pass, or the Road Traffic Act will pass, and all of those actions will take place as quickly as possible. So education is key. So everybody who is here today, you have the responsibility to promote road safety, educate the younger one, because the younger one will get trouble in them. It's the younger one give the problem. Because between 20 to 40, we have a maximum amount of fatality, and especially with the males. The males do a fantastic job in killing off themselves. Unfortunately, 219 males have died. They are no longer part of the family. So, everybody have the responsibility to promote road safety, educate, and live road safety. It's your responsibility to live and retrieve the reward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Stewart. I hope that would resonate with you. Just on a lighter moment, I have a son too, and when I hear the numbers of the males and the young boys, and Minister will tell you there are times when he says I'm a comedian, I had to find a creative way to talk to my son about speeding. So I'm going to share one with you. I don't know if you're going to try it, but this is what I do. I say to my son, if you're trying to check a girl, and you're in a fast car, and when I go fast, she's not going to see you. You have to wind down the window, roll down the top, and cruise. Then she see you. So I don't know if that will help. Yeah, laugh with me now. I don't know if that will help your kids, but I tried it with mine, and he's alive, still and well, and I'm hoping that you'll take that moment lightly, but reflect on it, because the fast driving is not working. Right, Mr. Stewart? Right, thank you so much. So we move now to the Jamaica Constabulary. I'd like to invite Mr. Adrian Hamilton, the Deputy Superintendent from the JCF, to speak to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Honorable Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, His Worship, the Mayor, Councillor Bertel Moore, Chairman, Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, Mr. Daniel Lawrence, Member of Parliament, Westmoreland Western, Mr. Moreland Wilson, Member of Parliament, Westmoreland Western. My colleagues to the front, I see many different agencies, citizens of White House and its environment, good afternoon. I am Adrian Hamilton, the officer in charge of operations for the Westmoreland Division, and I'm here this afternoon representing the commanding officer for the parish, who unfortunately wanted to be here, could not be here, Mr. Wayne Josephs, Senior Superintendent of Police for the division. All right? In keeping with the theme, I will touch a little on the crime situation, look at some of the road traffic issues that we have been faced with, and just give you a little synopsis of our preparation plans in relation to our protocols in response to natural disasters. All right? But I want to just start out by saying the whole disaster management cycle starts with preparation, mitigation, recovery, and response. Now, I think what we are doing here this afternoon is the preparation and mitigation in providing this cadre of resources, information, right? And I support this 100% in terms of providing that necessary information that can assist us, right, in terms of our mitigation and preparation efforts. I will not go too much into recovery and response, but suffice to say that I believe is the most important aspect of our disaster risk management cycle for this afternoon. I will start right where Mr. Stewart left off in relation to our traffic accidents within the parish. And we talk about disaster, along with the crime situation, that can be categorized as a serious disaster for especially the parish of Westmoreland. Because, as was mentioned, and I think Mr. Stewart said fatalities were at 26. We have added one, unfortunately, so it's 27. From 23 fatal accidents from January this year to current, right? 12 of which were involved motorcycles. While we are down marginally, because last year, the same period, we had 34 fatal accidents, 36 fatalities, and 18 of which involved motorcyclists. And I want to stick right with the motorcyclists because, you see, I think they are the most brazen violators of the Road Traffic Act, right? Wearing of helmets, we're removing the silencer causing excessive noise is a concern, and that is something that is of serious concern to us as well. You have persons even removing the mirrors, because of the style, right? So where safety mechanisms are in place, right? The manufacturers provided mirrors for a reason. So they will remove the mirrors, and when they're trying to merge on the roadway, they are riding, should be looking ahead, and now they have to be looking behind them. So you see the danger? But by the time you look behind you and you turn around, you're in the back of a truck. There's a reason those mechanisms are in place, right? And I know maybe we don't have many of the motorcycle drivers here, but I know many of them are your sons, your neighbors. Take it back to them, right? Encourage them, right? Yeah, I know it's difficult to talk to them sometimes, but we have to continue the effort in terms of if we want to see that behavior modification. Because when we embark on these traffic enforcement initiatives, the main objective is to modify behavior. On average, over 450 tickets within Westmoreland are issued weekly, right? A significant percentage of that is for motorcycle drivers who don't wear protective helmets. And that's another thing. Helmets save lives. I don't think I have to put it anywhere further than that. You know, right? A lot of times there's a collision and the cause of death is trauma to the head, right? So wearing a helmet, while it is a requirement, right, it is trying to save those persons from themselves, to ensure that at least if you encounter an accident, that the results may not necessarily have to be a fatality. All right? In relation to, on the crime front, murders is a significant percentage that we are seeing over what we had last year. In White House, for example, it's not that bad because we have from January to this July, we are seeing 3 murders within the White House. I mean, any murder is a cause of concern. But I'm saying for the White House area, it is a bit lower than many other areas, when you compare to many other areas in the division, right? But, you know, all other serious crimes right across the parish have been trending down when you compare them to the same period last year. What we are seeing in White House, however, is a rise in terms of break-in. And what is targeted, the target for these break-ins are mainly those gaming machines, poker boxes, right? So the persons who own bars and have these boxes, we have seen even in recent weeks, the police responding to a situation and were fired on, right? We recovered the boxes on the ground, and those persons, when they're coming to do those break-ins, they're coming heavily armed, right? And fortunately for the police officers responding that night, we did not suffer any loss or any injury. But we are aware of the situation. One of the things that we try to do is through our community walkthroughs, engagement with the citizens, and our business walkthroughs as well, we try to get persons to understand the importance of hardening those targets. So look at how you secure your premises. Invest in electronic surveillance is important, right? All those things that can help to make it more difficult for these persons who are hell-bent on creating mayhem and causing those situations within the parish. All right, so you can take the word out in terms of, you know, hardening of targets when it comes on to break-ins, because we are seeing a lot of that taking place within White House. We will continue as a police unit to deploy in such a way that we can mitigate these situations. But you know how it works. Citizens have to play their part, right? Don't leave cash in your business places and safes, yes? Because sometimes you'll wonder how they get to scope out your place. It could be that even your employees, right? Persons who hang around your business places, watching, seeing your modus operandi, how you move, what time you close, when you leave, you know, all those things are taken into consideration when those criminals are trying to pounce, right? So the more you can remove that, right, and harden and make your place more difficult to access. Look at your doors, your locks, whether you have burglar bars, all those things that can help to secure your place in a way that would mitigate you becoming a victim to those situations. And lastly, as I move along, I just want to speak to, from a disaster preparation and response perspective, that the Jamaica Constabulary Force, we have our own hurricane standing orders, which has three main purposes. One, whenever the warning comes that the hurricane warnings, they are disseminated to police formations. So all the formations, 19 geographic divisions and formation with the JCF would get that order, including Westmoreland Division. And we'll disseminate that to, in Westmoreland, we have 10 stations covering the parish. White House is one. In fact, White House and Bluefields police station, they are in one zone. We have 10 stations, 5 zones. So 2 stations per zone, right? Betheltown, Darlington is in the same zone. So once that comes, that is disseminated, right? Then all practicable precautions are taken in advance to minimize the risk of injury to personnel and the loss or damage to equipment and building during a hurricane. So, for example, there'll be warnings, right? Stay away from flood-prone areas. You may have evacuation orders. And I implore you, the police is always on the front line. When these orders are made, we know we have some persons who resist them, right? And the police come around and will tell you that, listen, in terms of enforcing those orders for your own protection, and I know sometimes we get backlash for it, but that is our job, and we'll continue to do it because we are valuable partners in the whole process of disaster risk management, and we'll continue to do that. And finally, now we're talking about after. So the police take action immediately after a hurricane to make a rapid survey of damage and report to headquarters, affording possible assistance to those in distress, as well as the parish council and other disaster preparedness and emergency management units. Right? So that in a nutshell is how our standing orders, hurricane standing orders works. I won't go down to the weeds because I know we are pressed for time and we just want to keep this. This is about you, and we're expecting that your questions will be forthcoming and we are prepared to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our police is hard at work. I will now invite my colleague from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. She is Ms. Sophia Mitchell, and yes, we're getting into the disaster talk, so she'll share with you some preparedness and mitigation strategies. Ms. Mitchell?
Good afternoon, residents of White House. Okay, all protocols observed. Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, His Worship the Mayor, Mr. Bertel Moore, Members of Parliament, Mr. Daniel Lawrence and Moreland Wilson, and my good colleague, Delmaris White. Good afternoon, everybody. When I was coming down this afternoon, I really thought, I know that I was in the hurricane season, but I was wondering if it was, giving us something like a precursor, because I really came down in torrential rainfall through Manchester and St. Elizabeth. But when we came to Westmoreland, it was quite cool and overcast, and I said, well, that's good. So it's a pleasure to be here with you. I have been told already that I don't have much time. Oh, I have a lot of time. Okay, good. Okay. My presentation will be looking at risk management in Westmoreland generally. But of course, we're here in White House, so we will have to touch a little bit on White House as well. Agreed? Okay. Some years ago, we did a study, and that study was done by the Pacific Disaster Center. And for food for thought, just wanted to share with you that when we looked at the multi-hazard exposure to hazards generally for the country, Westmoreland actually ranks 12 out of 14. Is that good or bad? That's pretty good. That's not bad. However, when you drill down into what they call the raw exposure to hurricanes, to landslides and coastal flooding, what do you think happens? Yes, your vulnerability increases. And now you rank 9th. And so we have to be mindful of that fact, that your vulnerability to hurricanes, flooding, and landslides is pretty high. And therefore, if and when you're impacted, we would want you to be in a greater level of preparedness and readiness so that you can respond effectively. And if you were to look at some of the communities across Westmoreland, that's what we would determine as high risk. I can't list all of them here tonight, but I can share with you some. Bethel Town, Bluefields, Darlington, Frome, Grangill, Little London, McNeil-Lands, and even last year McNeil-Lands was flooded out. Negril, Petersfield, Savannah Lamar, White House, yes, White House is on the list, and Williamsfield. And when you look at your risk exposure to tropical cyclones, it's 100%. When you look at seismic activity based on the probability of occurrence, that is pretty low. But when it comes to coastal flooding, you're at 38%. When it comes to inland flooding, you're at 21%. And what do you think you would have ranked highest in, or at 100% as well? Hurricanes and what else? Landslides, 100%. So it's not just about hurricanes, it's about landslide, it's about your inland flooding and also your coastal flooding, because White House is located where? You're right here on the sea, and so you are very vulnerable to coastal flooding. Over the years, ODPEM has partnered with the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, and we have been working significantly, especially in the Savannah Lamar area. We have been doing what is called a master flood mapping and mitigation plan for the Savannah Lamar area. And we did this under a project called CARTS. It really was a project led by the municipal corporation, but because it was a hazard risk reduction project, of course, ODPEM would need to partner significantly in this initiative. And so quite a bit of work was done in Russia, Cook Street, Landilo Phase 1. Those areas, we definitely had quite an extensive hazard mapping program for those areas. And secondly, I heard Superintendent Hamilton speak about evacuation. We did considerable work in evacuation in those 3 communities as well, where we actually timed the evacuation, how long it would take for those communities to be evacuated to safer areas. And so that is commendable, don't you think? Right here in your parish of Westmoreland. Give yourself a hand, man. Now, when it comes to disaster management, it is a science, like any other science. But there are 3 critical things as part of the disaster management cycle. We talk about the before, the during, and the after. So you don't need to know much about some of the different concepts and blah, blah. But you need to know what to do before, what to do during, and what to do after. And so some of the things that you can do before, look at your house, that you live in. It is an investment, isn't it? And because it is an investment, you would definitely have to ensure that you preserve it. It's not a nice thing to work 10, 15 years and you build your castle. It's your castle, you know. And after you build your castle, one event wipes it out. And it is destroyed. And so some simple things you can do. You can look at your property. Look at your roof. We are in the hurricane season. How many of you have roofing straps on the roof? It is somewhat affordable. I know times are hard. But you definitely have to secure your investment. And therefore, any mitigation measure that you can take, such as securing your roof, is important. And we don't want no block on the roof. Yes, we know sometimes we can use the rope and tie it down, don't it? But we don't want no block on the roof and the big boulders on the roof. None of that. Let me hear you say none of that. Yes, man, we need to invest. It is our castle, and we need to protect it. Now, as it relates to prevention, I was passing through a community. I won't name the community, and I saw a big disposal site. Put it that way. The garbage was just too much. It was overflowing. Where is that garbage going to go, based on the fact that it is now overflowing? It's going to end up when we have the rains. Where? In the drains, in the gullies. And then that is going to give us what? Double problem. So yes, we have to clear the roads for debris, natural debris. And then we have to go clear it for garbage. And we have to go clear the drains for garbage. And so we are saying prevention starts at the home. It starts with each one of us. We need to ensure that we dispose of our garbage as best as possible so that we can prevent the disaster down the road. And in terms of preparedness, to have drills and exercises, we want you to stock up on some emergency supplies. Yes, we know time hard, but you know, you can still put that little thing around to the back of the cupboard, don't it? Put it way around at the back so that the teenagers don't find it. You know, when you have teenagers at home, no matter where you put it, they find it. But you can do your own little planning, however possible you can. And of course, we say to you, you need to have a family emergency plan. You need to have a plan. You need to have it. You need to sit around the table and you need to talk as a family. What if something were to happen tomorrow? Something were to impact you significantly and you are displaced. How will you be reunited as a family? Because isn't the family important? The family is the most important. It's a nucleus of society. And so we have to protect each other as part of the family. Now we have been doing some simulation exercises in Westmoreland. We did a major one in 2020, and I'm seeing some of the players here: Jamaica Fire Brigade, Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, Jamaica Red Cross. All the players were part of that major exercise, and it was part of a project called CARTS. And we need to do more of those. And we are saying to you as community residents, you can plan a simple drill. You can plan a church-based drill. You can sit as a church and you can plan an earthquake drill or a fire drill, or you simulate a hurricane. Communities can be mobilized, and you know, sometimes as communities, you don't like to go to the boring meetings. Have a drill. It's a good activity to keep everybody encouraged and entertained. And as it relates to response, sometimes we look for alarms. Sometimes we're looking for notifications. You can have community-based notifications within your communities. What can you use? It can be a church bell as a warning. It can be a conch shell. It can be a town crier. It can be any of these things. It can be maybe the school bell that can provide some sort of alert that there is a serious issue in the community. So we are encouraging that at the community level as well. And most importantly, after we say we need to build back better. We need to ensure that we have structures which, let us say you were building a board structure, or you had a board structure, and yes, the roof wasn't so good. After the disaster, we are saying, don't just tack on back the roof. See if you can make it a little stronger. See if it can be a little bit more sturdy so that it can withstand another event. And of course, the hurricane season is June 1 to November 30, and that's the traditional hurricane season. Why do I say it's the traditional hurricane season? Because sometimes hurricanes fall outside of this period, and we have to be mindful of that. Aren't we getting more active events? Yes, the time is getting more active. And what is contributing to that? Climate change. Yes, it's a real thing. It's no longer just in the textbooks. We're getting more intense storms, more frequent storms, and sea level is rising. Remember, this is White House. What are some of the things that you can do to protect yourself and your family for the hurricane season? You can do a simple thing like knowing where to go if you were impacted and you needed to leave your house. Do you know where the nearest shelter is in your community? Do you have your travel documents safely secured? Or your NIS or your passport or your TRN number? Do you have all of these documents, what we call vital documentation? Do you have them in one place? Yes or no? Yes. And how do you package it? You have it in a cellophane bag, something watertight, that if the place gets flooded, you can secure it, because you know that if and when you are impacted, while you're impacted and we are cognizant of the fact that you would have lost some of your documents, we would prefer if you have it. So you can find, creative ways of securing your important documents. I remember going into a community and the lady put it in any glue. Isn't that something? Yes, man, she put it in any glue. Why she put that in glue? Because the igloo will float. The igloo will float. Right? Service your generator. Check on your shutters if you don't have it. If you don't have shutters, of course, you can use plyboard. Or any other creative ways. We are Jamaican people. We are creative, aren't we? Yes, we are very resilient. So we will find creative ways of shuttering our homes. Remove debris from your yard. Very important, because these will become missiles in the storm. And you don't want those things flying around and becoming missiles, because that's another hazard. And of course, you need to store water. So we need to store water, not just because we are experiencing drought and other conditions, but we need to store water as a part of our culture, part of our way of life. And of course, you need to ensure that you have some reserve for your cell phone, because of course, in the emergency, you're going to need to communicate. I need to touch on drought, because while we're in the hurricane season and while we're getting some rain, sometimes we have periods of very little rainfall. And so we are encouraging you to do water harvesting projects in your communities. Set up water tanks, set up drip irrigation mechanisms, because this is largely a rural community, a parish with a large farming community. Set up your irrigation systems so that you can actually conserve on water. I wanted to touch on the municipal corporation, that's the Westmoreland MC, because we consider them to be our primary stakeholder. ODPEM, or the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, we function at a strategic level, but the implementation of disaster risk management activities is really done by the Westmoreland MC. And so we have to encourage the Parish Disaster Committee. It has to function, because this is where all the agencies meet, plan for the parish of Westmoreland. And of course, the Parish Disaster Committee also works within non-governmental organizations, because in a disaster, ladies and gentlemen, It is not just a government initiative. It is all hands on deck, all parties. And of course, we have to partner on exercises. And so I just wanted to share a contact number for the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation. It's 955-2527. And there's also a cell number, 402-8565. We also have a disaster risk management volunteer program, and I am reaching out to all persons who are here today to log on to the ODPEM website, and you can register as a volunteer. It is important to give back to your country. It is important in an emergency that we have a cadre of persons who can respond in their community. And yes, we have started. We have a group of persons here in Westmoreland, but of course, we would need more persons to join. I just wanted to speak a little bit about our shelter management program. We have trained shelter managers. We have shelter inspections, which have been concluded, and we have also erected shelter signs. Now, there's a very important initiative that we embarked on last year, where we had shelters for persons with disabilities. So we are not just catering for the wider population, but we are now also zeroing in on some of the more vulnerable people. And so we had a shelter here in Westmoreland, Revival Primary, where we retrofitted that school with ramps, a driveway, and all the other amenities so that it can become more wheelchair accessible. Yes, thank you, thank you. And thanks to Digicel Foundation as well. They worked hard with us on 5 of those facilities. And finally, for White House. White House has a community disaster risk management plan. Did you know that? Well, you're knowing that tonight. You have a community disaster risk management plan in your community, and you also have a community emergency response team. And so I want you to get in touch with those persons who are the leaders in the community and also play your part in improving on that plan, because that is the plan that is going to be necessary when you respond. I just want to say finally that disaster management is not one man's business. It's everybody's business. We all have a role to play. We all have to do our part if it is that we wish to have a disaster-resilient nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mitchell. So you think you got a lot of information in terms of your own local municipal corporations' activities and some of the work that has been done in here. Yes, give Ms. Mitchell another round of applause, please. I'm inviting from the Met Office Mr. Rowan Brown. He's the head of the weather branch, but I want to share something with Rowan before he gets here. I was at a training, and the people at the training were complaining about the ODPEM. They said, "Oh, you're from ADPEM. You and the supermarket people in bed together. Every time rain fall, on make go supermarket and buy up these things." Even though Miss Mitchell didn't say you're to stock up and can stuff. And I said, absolutely not. Blame the Met Service. They're the ones who told you it's going to rain. So we now invite Rowan to defend that. Thank you so much.
Honorable Minister Mackenzie, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good evening, good evening. How are you this evening? You're doing well? That is wonderful. Okay, now 2 things. I'm going to make a presentation, but before I make a presentation, I want to share a story with you, right? When I was a child, I was about probably 8, 9, I can't remember. But I remember on one particular day, I was sitting on my veranda, and everybody in the community was saying, "Storm a come, one storm a come, one storm a come." It was 1988, right?
And they were saying a storm will come, a storm will come. No, as a child, you don't know nothing about no storm. So I was sitting on my veranda and I saw people on the street walking up and down and this excitement, storm will come, storm will come, storm will come. A little rain came, everybody's still up on the road, storm will come. And this is then called storm because at that time, a lot of persons didn't know about what a storm was. No, I was on the veranda and I remember clearly as day that a wind came. And when that wind came, the first wind came, everybody cleared the street because I was on the veranda and everybody cleared the street. And I was saying, what is this? Because I've never seen this before. The second thing that got to me was that there was a lady named Miss Ida. Now, we lived on a hillside and Miss Ida lived below us. And what occurred is that sometime within that period, Miss Ida's zinc started to lift. And before everybody could say, but Miss Ida zinc lift, the roof came off and begin to go over next door. That was my introduction to hurricanes and the potential danger that they have. Miss Ida roof went, she get wet up, and it was a sad day. But what that taught me was that disasters do happen and we need to be prepared. So as a child, I learned a valuable lesson through Miss Ida roof. But taking it to 2022, it is 2022, and the outlook for the season as it relates to hurricanes and storms is that we're expecting 14 to 21 named storms. 6 to 10 of them hurricanes, and 3 to 6 will be major hurricanes, right? And those are the numbers. But the absolutely critical number is 1, because all it takes is the passage of a system across Jamaica or just near Jamaica to create significant damage. Loss of life, damage to property, loss of livelihoods, and of course, death. And we can prevent that by taking heed to the information. And I'll quickly share something with you. The Met Service is responsible for providing all the warnings as it regards to hydrometeorological events. So whether flooding, landslides, hurricanes, storms, and so forth. We put out news releases that everybody should be getting now because you have your smartphones. We put out severe weather alerts. But what is important is our watches and our warnings. Our watches and our warnings. And it doesn't matter the event. Once we say that there's a hurricane watch or a hurricane warning, it means that let's start with the watch. With the watch, within 48 hours, you are likely to be impacted by something severe. So if you hear that there's a storm watch or a hurricane watch, you have 48 hours. That is 2 days for you to prepare, do what you have to do in order to prepare yourself for it. If you hear there's a warning, it means that it's within 36 hours or less that you might be impacted with something that might cause loss of life, livelihood, and damage. And therefore, it is important that you take heed. Now, the technology now allows us to use satellite to actually track these things. So we're getting better and better and better in terms of the forecast. And therefore, when we put out a warning, my fellow brothers and sisters, people of White House, Westmoreland, it is absolutely critical that you listen and that you act. Time is going, but listen to me. It doesn't matter who you are. The weather affects the rich, the poor, the sick, the injured, and everybody. And if you can prepare yourself, you'll be better off for it. In my 5 seconds, that is it. Have a wonderful evening. And when I was a child, let's say disaster do happen. What you must do, be prepared. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. That was from the Met Service. And once again, heed the warnings from the Met Service. At this time, we have an entertainment piece coming up. Miss Jelly's Jettas will be doing a piece on disaster for you. So help make her feel welcome, please.
Disaster, you must be prepared. word, disaster. And that me come for share, disaster preparation, be aware. Disaster is a calamity, destroy life, animal, and all your life. Disaster. Disaster, you must be aware. Disaster, that come for share. Disaster preparation, be aware. Disaster is a calamity, destroy life, animal, all your property. You have to plan, organize, consecrate, and you have to plan, organize, consecrate. Disaster. 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 You have to be aware. Disaster. And that may come for sheer disaster. We in the hurricane season. Oh yes. A good reason. For you learn about disaster. Disaster. And that may come for sheer disaster. Disaster.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause for her. So we are at the segment where we are preparing for our main address. At this time, we invite the Honorable Minister Desmond McKenzie, the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, to give his main address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delmaris from the ARDPEM, representatives from the various agencies, and I'm particularly pleased that at this forum, the Jamaica Constabulary Force is represented, and also the Road Safety Unit of the Ministry of Transport and Works. Member of Parliament Lawrence and Member of Parliament Wilson, councillors and representatives of the Municipal Corporation, the SDC, residents of White House and General Westmoreland, good evening. It's an MP George Wright has also joined us. It is a pleasure to be here in Westmoreland, especially in eastern Westmoreland, a part of the government's drive of bringing the message of disaster preparedness to communities. We have chosen White House because of its close proximity to the sea and the fact that this parish as you were told earlier on, is one of the parishes that we pay keen attention to during the hurricane season. It is important, ladies and gentlemen, that the message be taken seriously. It is important that you understand the dangers that are associated at this time of the year when it comes on to the hurricane season. Westmoreland is not only a parish of concern because of disaster. And we brought the road safety unit to this town hall meeting to share the numbers, to discuss with you the various concerns that as a country and a government we face with the many fatal accidents on the roads, especially here in Westmoreland. Motorbikes are of real concern, and the numbers speak for itself. The presenter outline steps that have been taken to involve the players in the industry. The SDC, and I want to advise you so, they will work with you, have started a program in Hanover where we are engaging motorcycle riders throughout the parish, educating them about the need for the wearing of helmets. And so you are providing helmets, and so the SDC, through local government, will be assisting in that program. And I want to emphasize a point that he made. When you take off the mirror of the bike, you don't know what is happening behind you. And as you take your eyes off the road, who knows what will happen? And it is not only creating hardship for families, but it is costing the country an enormous amount of money for medical care in our public hospitals. And this is a time where we have to be responsible. And I would like to urge those persons who use the motorcycles to get involved in the various programs that is being undertaken by the government. We consider the spate of accidents on our roads as a disaster, and we have incorporated that into our disaster response program right across the country. The other area I want to touch on, which is of concern, especially during the hurricane season, is the lack of water in certain communities across Westmoreland. This is a problem that has been going on for many years. And while we are educating persons around disaster response, we also have to be mindful about the fact that there is a problem as it relates to water. I want to make some announcements this evening as it relates to the government's response to the water crisis here in Westmoreland and what we intend to do. The rural water, which falls under the Ministry of Local Government, will commence in September. The rehabilitation and the upgrading of the water supply storage system in Ashton. Now, this is a catchment tank in the community. And it is expected that over some 600 persons within that community will benefit from this upgrading of the water system at a cost of $10 million to start in September and will be completed in the month of November. So we are taking it one step at a time. Rural Water has been working to improve water supplies in other sections of the parish. Bat Mountain Primary School in Western Westmoreland has benefited from water harvesting at a cost of $4.6 million to improve the water supply in that section of Westmoreland. Content and Little Bay Primary has benefited from water improvements at a cost of $10 million to improve water supplies at these schools in this community. This is another step that the government is taking to improve the water supply within sections of Westmoreland. Today, I visited Moreland Hill, where there is a serious problem of water. The concerns there raised by the residents today. And I gave the commitment. We will explore a major water supply system, working with Rural Water and the National Water Commission to bring water to that community. It is going to take some time, but on a short-term basis, we are going to be installing in Moreland Hill 10 water tanks that will carry 2,000 gallons of water that will be providing water to that community until we have completed the major work that is required to bring water to the community. So we are working to improve the water conditions, and water is important. Apart from the work that we'll be doing, we will commence the trucking of water to various communities across Westmoreland. And I want to make the point that the trucking of water to the various communities is free. No residents must pay for the trucking of water that comes to these communities. So the municipal corporation and the members of parliament will have that responsibility to provide the water free of cost. So nobody can come with no truck and tell you, you have to pay X amount of money to get the water. The water is coming to you free. It is your tax dollar that is buying the water to provide it for you. But I also want to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, Earlier on today, I was engaged in a discussion outside. It is not possible for all the concerns that you have to be addressed at the same time. It is going to take time, and we have started the journey. It is going to be long and tedious, but I can assure you of the commitment of the government of Prime Minister Andrew Holness to respond as best as possible to the needs of the people of Westmoreland. We have started and we will continue. The other area I want to touch on is rural electrification. The town of Savlamar and Orange Bay is benefiting from rural electrification, where over some 370 houses will be wired to be connected to the Jamaica public service system. Now, we're doing this because we want to encourage persons to do the right thing. So we have started in 2 areas, and we will be expanding it in communities where persons want to get light, but their homes are not wired. The government will wire your house free of cost. All you have to do is to connect to the GPS system. So the illegal connection which creates disaster, because sometimes you have short circuit, burn down the house, and in many cases lives are lost. We are addressing these issues, and I want to use the forum of this town hall meeting to say to you, the people of Westmoreland, we are not just talking because we have a mouth to talk. We are doing the work, and we will continue to do the work. Roads is another disaster in this parish. Again, we have started. We're going to be spending in this current financial year in the parish of Westmoreland over $120 million on parochial roads right across the parish. I am pleased to advise, and I hope Miss Velma is listening, up there in Lennox Bigwood, the tender for the contract has now come in and is finalized. And shortly, we'll be spending $50 million to upgrade Lennox Bigwood Road where Miss Velma lives, because she's concerned about it. This is a commitment that was made, and a commitment that is being kept. And we will be attending to the various roads through the municipalities, working with the National Works Agency to improve the road conditions in Westmoreland, because I have driven on some roads. I tell you, I never know roads like these exist anywhere in Jamaica like some of the roads that I have driven on here in Westmoreland. So we have started to to deal with the road conditions in the parish. And I'm going to say to you tonight that we are asking for patience and understanding, because Rome was not built in a day. It is going to take us time, and you must also appreciate that the procurement process to get the work done takes time, and we want to do it and do it good without any questions being asked about the process. And I am saying to you tonight here in White House at this town hall meeting that the interests of the various communities, not just here in Westmoreland, but across the country during this time of the year, is high on the priority of the government, because we understand the needs that exist. So with the various programs that are being undertaken in the parish, we are providing funds to the municipal corporation for the cleaning of drains right across Westmoreland. Those funds will be made available to the municipal corporation as soon as the programs is submitted to the Ministry of Local Government. The mitigation program is to help to keep our drains clean, is to do what is necessary, ladies and gentlemen, to minimize the effects of flooding and other such matters related to the hurricane season. You, as residents, can play your part in helping to minimize whatever effects will come if we are affected by a system. And it is important that you all understand and appreciate what is happening. So that is why we are coming to the people. We're going to be in St. Mary next week. That is a parish that is of real concern. We're going to be in St. Anne because that is another parish that have shown signs that if we are affected, we could have serious challenges in these parishes. But we are here in Westmoreland. The Social Development Commission is also working on social programs here in Westmoreland. The involvement of the young people in the various communities is of importance. A lady said to me outside this evening, she said, Mr. Mackenzie, the young people is what we rely on. The young people is our future. And in the survey that was done by the SDC, especially here in White House, the survey has shown that there are over 7,000 young people or 7,000 residents in White House. There's over 1,700 households within White House. But the survey also shows that the majority represents the younger age in White House. So what it means is that there has to be a program that is focused, that pays attention to the needs of young people. Tomorrow, the Most Honorable Prime Minister will be joining me at Manning's High School to launch the Youth Summer Employment Program. This is a program that over 6,000 young people across Jamaica will be employed for 4 to 6 weeks. A component of that employment program, which we started in 2017, is to involve young people to work within the area of disaster preparedness and emergency management. Some of these young people will be assigned to the ADPEM, they'll be assigned to the municipal corporation, and their responsibilities will be to find the communities which are vulnerable, to find persons who will need assistance if it becomes necessary for persons to be taken out of communities and to place in shelters. There is a role for young people in disaster preparedness, and we have been doing that for the last 2 years. And tomorrow, you will hear a lot more what is in store. But 6,000 young Jamaicans will find gainful employment under the administration of Prime Minister Andrew Holness. So, disaster preparedness is the message. You can help yourselves to help us. I'm asking you to listen to the various warnings. Go to the shelters when you are asked to go to the shelters. And it is important, ladies and gentlemen, that you understand that if you are told to leave, it is important that you cooperate and leave. Find safe grounds. There are over 60 odd shelters in Westmoreland, in close proximity. I know that there's a challenge here in White House because the sea is just down there. So you'd have to go a little distance away to find shelter. But working with the team within the parish, they have done it before. But I want to urge you. Some people say that it now come. It now trouble me. Some people say, sure, God love we and God will take care of we. God help those who help themselves. And let us not lose sight, ladies and gentlemen, of what we are doing. It is our responsibility to give you enough warning. It is our responsibility to provide the resources, the location for you to be relocated until after the system have passed. I urge you, I beg of you to listen to the various warnings. I am pleased with the report from the police, and we deliberately brought the police into this town hall meeting so you can hear from the police face to face about the challenges that they are facing. White House has a pretty good record in terms of murders. Let us try and reduce that level of murder right across the parish of Westmoreland. There's a lot more I could say, but I want to leave the remainder of the town hall meeting for you to ask your questions. And when you ask your questions in a nice way. We're not here to fuss. We're not here to fight. We are here to serve and to give information. Thank you for coming out.
Okay, thank you very much, Minister Mackenzie. So Minister Mackenzie would have indicated to you that we are at that moment, where you get an opportunity to ask the questions that you have. So once again, I'm going to remind you that if you are a little fearful, not sure, if you want to ask the questions, we have a tent outside with representative from ODPEM, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and the SDC. They'll write it down and I'll read the question so that it is heard, and then we'll provide some form of answer response or collate that information and have the relevant state entity address the issue. I want to also point out to you that we have three representatives from the JPS here. We have Mr. Orlando McCoy. Mr. McCoy, are you here? Just raise your hand for me. And then I have Roger Kennedy. Where's Roger? Roger is there also, and Edwin Livermore. So the JPS representatives are here. So if you have any questions, in fact, we will now allow you to speak to them directly if you wish, but they are here in the audience to assist you. Additionally, I have two ODPEM officers branded, Ms. Robinson on my left and Ms. Kristen Rowan-Williams on my right, and they're here with the microphones to just bring to you when you have your questions. Minister asked, in the interest of time, to ask the question, one, and then we will either provide answers or agree with you that we have noted your issue, your question, or your concern, and then we'll move on to the others. So we now open the floor for the questions, and the ladies are waiting. Just raise your hand and they'll make their way to you, and then you will ask the question. Gentlemen, when you're asking your question, just state your name and where you're from in Westmoreland, and then proceed. You may begin. You can hand it to him, Mr.
Okay, my name is Samuel Campbell. I am from the Robbins River community. I have grown up in the White House district, and I have seen this White House town in a deplorable state, and I would like to know who is responsible, and I direct this question to the Honorable Minister Desmond Mackenzie.
You want to know who is responsible for the town? Well, the residents, the citizens of White House is responsible for the town. That is the first thing, because it is your tax dollar that runs the town. It's a dual role. The National Works Agency would have responsibility for the main roads that runs through the town, and the municipal corporation has responsibility because they regulate the various businesses that operates, along working with the police to ensure that proper order is maintained on the road. But the town is actually under the direct control of the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation.
Okay. All right, thank you. We have a question on the right here.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Haile Mikhail Kojo. I live in Belmont, and I'm many things to many people. Minister, I would like 3 minutes of your time after the program just to deliver some letters that your secretary, Ms. Swaby, is very much aware of. And I'd like permission to do that.
Yes,
but what I'd like to speak about now is the transport sector. I'm asking if the Ministry of Transport could do a full revision of the license in Jamaica. Many people on the road, they can't even read, but they have driver's license. Now we know how they came by it. And then the transport sector, especially the public one, from White House to South, 5 taximen decide they're not carrying me. They run me out because I talk about overloading. Ladies, I'm asking you, don't sit in front of the driver, beside the driver and the passenger in the boxes. It is not safe. You'll fly through the windscreen. So these are some of the things I'd like you to look into. Another thing is the taxi stand in White House, in Sav. The taxis park at the plaza beside the bus park. I've spoken to the police about it, but it seems as if we need some heavier artillery to get them moving into the bus park. It is not safe there either. So these are some of the things I'd like to I've shared with you, and I hope that the people will work on it. And remember, Mr. Minister, just 3 minutes of your time.
Not
All
a
right?
problem.
Thanks very much.
The police have heard you, and the representative from the transport ministry have heard you, and they will definitely look at it. But I do know that the congestion on the roads caused by the taxis is of real concern.
We'll take the next question in the back. Ms. Robinson?
Good afternoon, Mr. Desmond Mackenzie, Daniel Lawrence, my boss. I would like to say something about Farm District. I live in Farm District from Saltfish Ashingo House. And all the young people are young girls, the young boys, they have nothing to do down there. All I see in them going around, drinking boom, drinking turbo, rubbing out their hand miggle, and no facility for them. No thing that they can build some furniture. Them can carve out some things. No school to send them. One time I tell Luther Buchanan I can give him a and to build school for the little one, and nothing done. So I would like some adjustment to make to Farm District, Montescom, PO, young people there down there. They have nothing to do more than walking up and down, and nobody is there to represent them.
All right, I hear you. And the SDC the SDC have already, through their assessment, would have done the assessment on the community, and we have the data, so I can assure you that we will try to see what we can do, okay? Yes. Based on what we have seen, all right?
One more question, sir. Bluefields Police Station, they're into a hole down there, and we don't like that.
Where is that?
Bluefields.
Bluefields.
The police down there into a hole, and that is not good for the officers down there. We need back the police station on the front where it was before. Because it's a havoc to reach back to the police down there, and sometimes you go down there, they don't have no jeep. They can't find no vehicle to come when problem gone. Ask the gate, sir. So we need the police station to put back where it was before.
All right, the police, the soup is here, and he has heard you, so it has not fallen on deaf ears.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Joyce will take the gentleman on the right.
Good afternoon, the Honorable Minister, and the rest of people inside the hall. I am here I had a problem, and I come with the intention actually to bash Mr. Mackenzie. But to be honest with you, when I sit and hear all that you have to say, believe me, I just have to commend you for most of the things that you said. So, one thing I have to say, one of the biggest environmental problems we have, our degradation, is, and not really bashing the youth, is the community and the problem with the younger people. And I am saying that, hope you have a big budget for SDC, because we can't solve no problem or no environmental problem or environmental degradation without we have community organization, or we work with the police, and work with all the social organizations to solve Jamaica problem. So, what me really want from you or the government is that in all the various community, me can't speak for Westmoreland, me not business with the other parish them, because Westmoreland me live. So we can take the model from Westmoreland after we do it. We need satellite organization up the hill at White House, down on the front, down at Bluefields, all over the community. Because no problem can solve without people. And how you solve a problem is that you find the leaders them. And you find the people in the community who is interested in them community in a all matter. You understand me? And put the people them together and organize the thing. That's when you ready to keep a meeting like this here. People are already aware and know how to set the whole thing. That means life easier for we. Really, that me I try to deal with. Thank you.
Much. Thanks for your question. Thank you.
All right. I have a problem that I would like to address right now.
Mike. This one is
all right, go ahead now. Go ahead with
yes,
your...
concerning the taxis on the roadway in the White House. It's a disaster. Our disaster spell this area. It's a disaster waiting to happen. When the taxis come from south, they turn, reverse, and go in the Broadway, right? Some are double park on the other side. No. If a truck laden with stuff coming from that way, and that Vaxyard taxi going the road automatically and shuts off, what is going to happen? That truck cannot apply any brake suddenly. A lot of dead people out there. Now, who, Mr. Minister, is responsible for the parks to get those taxis off the road? That is a disaster waiting to happen.
Thank you for your question.
I'm going to ask the police to respond to that, okay?
Yes. Very well, very well. I note that question a while ago, concern. That is a concern of the police also. Like I mentioned earlier, now one of the things that we try to do in terms of having person conform when we prosecute is try to modify the behavior. What we have found though is that with all the prosecutions that we have done, it's not sufficient in terms of curbing the practice. And remember now, traffic is one aspect, as important as it is one aspect of policing. However, the demand for service is great. So, you may carry out a traffic enforcement exercise and you leave to do something else, which is services demand. And by a quint, so to speak, these unruly motorists are back at the game. You understand? So I want to assure you that your concern is not lost on the police. We are aware of it also. We have put mechanisms into place. From time to time, we have joint operations with the Transport Authority as well. White House has benefited from that. We have a system that we deploy resources, not only from your White House police, but also from divisional headquarters to assist in the process. Right? So from time to time, you will see prosecutions taking place, tickets being issued. But I'm telling you, I'm not seeing that turn in relation to even programs that have been developed to help to guide these persons along the way. Because it's not just the prosecution side of it. We try to appeal to the social aspect and the social side, but with all our efforts, we're still seeing this unruly behavior. And I must commend that citizen who spoke out earlier about the overloading of the tax. You see, if all of us as citizens were as strident, right, about our own safety as that gentleman that spoke a while ago, then it makes the life of the police that more easier. And protect your own lives as well, right? Because if you police yourselves, right, in that way, we have a greater collective will in terms of achieving the objectives. All right?
All right. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. Good night, I should say. My name is Christopher Lee. I grew up here in White House Garden District. Especially, I see that some road up freeway that up at Congress, don't know, you don't go nowhere there, but Congress needs really need roads, right? The road is really bad, right? And so I'm just asking, Mr. Mackenzie, please, can I get any response like when things will be possible for the road will be able to be fixed?
Which road is that?
Up by Garden District.
As I said earlier on in my presentation, I am aware of the conditions of the roads because I've driven on these roads. I have been in Westmoreland quite often. Almost every month I'm here 2-3 days a week. So I'm aware of the conditions of the roads. And we have started. And it is going to take not just 1 year, not just 2 years. It's going to take some time for us to deal fully with the road network that exists in Westmoreland. But I take note of what you said, and we will see. I'm not making any promises, so I don't want you to say that I promise to fix it tomorrow. We'll look at it and to see how best we can address it. Okay?
All right, thank you. Next question.
Okay, I have 2 questions that I would like to ask. Maybe the member from ODPEM could answer. Oh, my name is Kenisha Johnson, and I'm from White House. The first question is, how can I identify the shelters? Where are they in White House?
Ms. Sophia Mitchell, you want to just address that?
I'm going to ask Ms. Mitchell to tell you.
Okay.
Okay. I am not from Westmoreland, but I have been informed that there's a New Hope primary, there's a King's primary, and there's a Petersville primary. Now, as it relates to the New Hope primary, it is very close to the sea. And as the minister had said, that particular shelter may create problems. We would not want you to evacuate to that facility, so that is a post-event facility.
Right.
So you would not be able to evacuate to that facility in a hurricane because it is too close to the sea. And we are in the business of protecting life.
That's one of the reasons I asked, because I know that it is very close to the sea,
Yes.
and I know that there are lots of decorative blocks, so that would not be a good shelter.
Yes, but remember that as part of our shelter management program, we are catering to multiple hazards, not just hurricanes. You could have a fire, and it could be utilized. You could have a minor earthquake. If it's a large earthquake, you will have to have assembly areas, and we set up tents on the outside, free of hazards. So we are operating in a multi-hazard environment where shelter management is concerned. But yes, we have taken the concern for New Hope Primary, and we will take the necessary steps to find an alternative facility.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your question.
My next question could go to the MP, Mr. Lawrence, or to Mr. Mackenzie. All right. I heard you spoke about drainage, and you spoke about the cleaning of drains. My concern is not about the cleaning of the drains, but maybe redevelopment of the drains. All right, so I live on the housing scheme, and there are lots of development that has happened in the hills of Gordon and its environs. And when it rains heavily, those drains that were built from maybe the 70s cannot carry that volume of water. So what we're going to have? A lot of flooding on the housing scheme. So that is something that needs to be looked into. There is a plaza around the road that carries on the roadside, in front of the plaza, there's a channel for that water to come into the drains. That is too small, so when it rains, it creates flooding on the road. And Mr. Lawrence, you are aware of it, so maybe you can address it, or you can tell Mr. Mackenzie that something urgently needs to be done to that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have posed two very important questions, and those questions are really related to the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, because development approvals and designing of drains and infrastructure falls within the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, working with the National Works Agency. So what I will do for you, I will take that information and I will ask the Senior Technical Director in the Ministry of Local Government to have some discussions with you. Ms. McDonald will take your name and the officer will speak to you and we'll have a look at it to see what you are speaking about.
All right, thank you. Speaking to the microphone.
Okay, I'm not hearing you.
It's on. My MP, Mr. Lawrence, is right. Stand up there. Just wave your hand, Mr. Lawrence. Don't stand up. Just wave your hand. Mr. McKennis, long time you know y'all when you sing. You can't sing same way? What if you can't sing same way? Lord Jesus have mercy. I don't know me know you. You want to take time with Mr. Lawrence. As a young man, just growing up in politics. But God sent the right man come to me. So I want to take time with him. Rome never big built in one day. Several times. I'm going to take time with him. He's a me don't say something about might be done. He's a man.
All right, but what is the question?
You understand? But just pray and we will take time with him.
All right.
You just take time. Mr. Mark, a long time I know you. I when you go around so and you
yeah,
sing.
man, yes, man.
When
All
you're
right.
young boy,
What is the question?
All right, all right.
Good.
I would. Greetings, everybody. Oh, sorry. Greetings, Sir Mackenzie. You're a man I have respect for and regards for so many years. You're a hard worker. I'm representing the, I don't like to use the word disabled, but the challenge community, as in Westmoreland Challenge Organization, which is one of the newest organizations in Westmoreland. And we would like to ask you, sir, because I even have a letter here to to hand you personally or to your secretary for some development at the Akindown to Porter in the parish here. I am Cleve Barton of Robbins River, a very hard worker. Regardless, I have a visual impairment, but I do not let that stop me. So I would like to know if you could give our organization the best interest that we need at this moment. Because I was one of those persons who was integral in the lobbying of the Disability Act to be passed. Thank you very much.
All right. Well done. What I will do, the SDC will get in touch with you and I will ask them to work with you, with your organization to see how we can address some of the concerns that you have.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
All protocols observed. My name is Andy Winter from the Petersville community. I know that I didn't hear Petersville in the water argument. However, I'm asking this question to Mr. Mackenzie. How many trucks are there in Westmoreland to supply these vulnerable community that desires the water?
Well, the question that you ask, I guess you know what entails. The municipal corporation has a set of trucks that they engage, and these trucks are responsible, working with the municipal corporation, to deliver water across the parish. And this is something that has been going on. The MCs engage the trucks on a regular basis. So what we are doing is providing more funding for the trucking of water.
So is there an approximate figure like 10, 12, about 20 or 5?
What, trucks?
Trucks.
It is up to the MCs as to how many trucks they want to engage.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, sir. My next question or observation. You said there is about 120 millions to be spent on the road in Westmoreland.
Yes.
But you also make mention of the amount that would be spent on the Lennox Road. I don't remember if you said 50 million.
Yes, that was a commitment that was given.
Okay, so 50 million
yes,
for the Lennox Road.
Yes, which has been approved, and the work will commence in short order.
Okay, which would leave 70 millions for the rest of the parish.
You're not going to tell me what I said.
No,
I made a statement, so you're not going to do that.
No,
you're not going to do that.
Okay, I'm just making
sure.
Okay,
you're not going to do that.
All right.
You're not going to do that. Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Good night. My name is Jaleesa Smith.
I can't hear you, not hearing you, my dear.
Good night. My name is Jaleesa Smith. I live in Gordon, Culloden Housing Scheme Phase 2. It is controlled by HAJ. However, there are 2 bridges heading into my community. If either of those bridges collapse,
Go ahead.
If either of those bridges collapse, the alternative route isn't even safe for walking. However, there are some lands that are selling up there. It ranges from 100,000 to 250,000. Recently, I was informed that it is $1 million. And you'll have to pay that money up front. Me as a young lady know that is working, and how am I going to find $1 million up front?
Well, you're asking a question that I can't respond to.
Direct it to the relevant person. When I inquire about it, they are sending me to a person that the money that I am transferring, it is not to like a HAJ account.
No, but all right. What I'm going to ask you to do is to give the information to that young lady standing behind you, because I could never respond and I could never point you in the direction that you ought to go unless I am aware fully of the concerns that you are raising.
So what about the bridge, the 2 bridges heading into the community?
I will ask the mayor to have his technical officer come to look at the bridge and to make a recommendation.
But I was informed that you came about 2 years ago to look at them.
That I don't even know where you're talking about. I don't know where you're talking.
It is heading into the Vietnam community, the bridges. So Mr. Lawrence is aware of one is at where the Palmers live, and one is where those 2 bridges. Mr.
That
Lawrence
I came there 3 years ago?
I heard. Well, a representative from your office, because I was at work when I heard.
Oh, not me. No, as I said before, just the information, give the information, and we will have somebody to look at it. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I have a mic. All right, we are going to take 2 more questions, and then we have 2 questions that were written. So let me take those 2, and then we take 2 more as we try to wrap up. Miss Mitchell, would you like to just come and read those so we can have some answers?
Good afternoon again. This is just addressing the lady who spoke about the shelter. I have been informed by the Westmoreland MC Disaster Unit that the Culloden Salvation Army and the Camp Hope facilities are being looked at as alternative sites. And there's a shelter management training next week in Savannah Lamar. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take the other question now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mackenzie.
Afternoon, sir.
My name is Garnet Simit. I'm a citizen from White House. Shh. One question I want to ask you. When you going to move the people out of the mud and put them in the market?
Put them in the
market.
Well, you know, I'm glad you asked the question. Now let me stand up to respond to this question. I don't know if you are aware that that market has been leased to a private individual.
No, sir.
The Westmoreland Municipal Corporation has leased the market to a private individual. I actually visited the market, met the individual, and I must tell you, it is a disgrace to see a market that is built for the public that has been leased to a private individual, and the vendors end up on the road. There is a legal contract with the operator. It is not something that, as the minister, I can override, because it is a legal arrangement that the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation have made, and they are collecting funds from the person who they have leased the premises to. That is the only answer I can give you on that matter.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll take the next question.
Good night.
Before you ask the question, I'm just going to ask the persons on the outside to tone it down a bit, and persons on the inside to allow for your colleague to ask the question so we can hear. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good night. Such a pleasure to have this in White House. I feel so proud. My main question, the fishing industry in terms of the sea and disaster. Our boats, when the disasters are coming in terms of hurricane or bad weather, we don't have sufficient space on the beach to pull up the boats. And as such, sometimes they have to be going down by the hotel area or back up, so to put up the boats. I'm a bit nervous. But what I'm saying...
You're doing well, man. You're doing well.
What I'm saying, the fishing industry is a very important industry for White House and for our entire country. And when you look and see the condition of the beach, more respect needs to be given towards the fishermen them and how they can operate. You understand me? The boats them need to be able to pull up so that they don't get destroyed. One boat right now is near 3 million and more, or even 2.5. And when you look at the fact that you don't have where to secure it, apart from ourselves, we need to secure our livelihood. And that is my point for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I hear you, and I will definitely speak with my colleague, Minister Charles, who has responsibility for the fishing, and bring the concerns to Minister Charles that you have raised. Thank you.
All right, so we will take the final one question. I saw someone over here. The final one. Go ahead for me.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rickard Taylor. I'm from a small community called Farm in the White House Division. Now, we had about 5 culverts down there, and whenever time it rains, the road full of water because the culverts are blocked. And I think those culverts doesn't need cleaning anymore. I think they need redevelopment. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Noted, sir. Noted. Okay? And we will look at it. All right?
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say. JPS? Do you have any questions for the Jamaica Public Service, or did you go to them directly? Are there any JPS questions, or would you prefer to go to them directly? You have one question? All right, so Delia, we'll take that one question then.
A whole lot of JPS question. I can't afford to pay over 20,000 for a light bill, and then somebody else burning it free and me have to pay for them. It can't work so. It can't work so. It can't work so. Everybody depend thief in light, and if me thief in they report me, and me have to pay 20 and 15,000 for light bill, and everybody are burning free. It can't work so. It can't go so.
All right, I hear you. And the JPS hear you. I don't know if JPS want to address that question.
Somebody will tell them if the JPS not in there. Cannot work like that. Light bill is too hard for us, man. Too hard. So if JPS people in here wanna read good and cut down some of we bill for we have picnic figure school. I be a university picnic me have any hard. All right, sir. And Mr. Mackenzie, big up yourself here, sir. We're glad to see you.
Thank you.
You're sexy. Big up yourself. Yes, you're sexy.
Come up this way.
Mike, thank you for your point. At this time, I'd like to close.
The JPS person.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janice Carr, and I'm your customer service area manager for the West, which includes St. James. You're hearing me now? All right. You hearing me better? All right. My name is Janice Carr. I am your JPS Customer Service Area Manager for the West, which includes St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. Now, I do understand your concern about theft. It is a real problem that we're facing in JPS and in the country. One of the things, and if you heard me clapping loudly when no one was clapping, when Mr. Mackenzie mentioned about the program that is underway to have customers regularize through the REP electrification program. Now, JPS has been working resiliently to rid our lines of theft. What we're seeing in terms of the number of theft is no different from the crime that is happening in the country. It is a real crime. JPS is really not a crime-fighting organization. But despite the challenges, we've been doing quite a lot. We've improved our system in terms of infrastructure that we have placed to, stop the crime. It's not totally eliminating, but what we're seeing is a reduction. In terms of the throw-ups, each time we have an operation to take down the lines, we have to coordinate with the police and other stakeholders. We do that sometimes, but just like the police stated when they move the cars from the roadside, it's the same thing that is happening. So it is about trying to change the mindset of the people. And one of the things that we have been doing right now in terms of renewing the mindset is our community renewal program. We're working closely with JSIF. We go in communities and we provide jobs for people, and we show them a different way of life, and that is working very well for us. So we note the concern. We remain relentless in ridding our lines. It is a partnership with the government and other stakeholders, and we continue on that path to rid our lines. So as I did mention, there are several programs that we're doing right now. We have started our smart meter program, and we have seen quite a few benefits from the installation of smart meter. So my understanding is by the end of this year, 2022, we should have at least 80% smart meter in the parish of Westmoreland. That will give us a better intelligence in terms of where the theft is and attacking that particular situation in a more strategic manner. All right. Right. So the matter about not having an office in Westmoreland continues to be a concern. One of the things we're seeing, however, and recently I was looking at a report, we're seeing where more persons are gravitating to our online platform. That is real. The numbers are increasing. We have several ways in which you can reach us at JPS. We still have our local representatives. We have our JPS mobile app. You would have heard a lot of people raving about the app. We have our JPS platform where you can do business. Several activities can happen there. One of the things, however, because we do understand that not everyone is capable enough to reach us online. So we still have our JPS mobile office service where we partner with various stakeholders and we go into the communities and we serve our representatives. So if we also partner with the SDC. So if you recognize the need, because I realize that you are a strong influence in the community. So if you recognize the need for us to come in any communities in Westmoreland, I welcome the opportunity. I will come and give you my number. Okay, thank you.
Before we close, I really want to express my appreciation to the people of Westmoreland. I think we have had a beautiful town hall meeting, and I really appreciate and respect how you have conducted yourselves. Want to thank the SDC who have been working to put the program together. And I just want to thank them and to say big up.
Sorry, thank you, Minister. So on that trend, let me just thank you, Minister, for coming out to this town hall meeting, yourself and Mr. Daniel Lawrence, the Member of Parliament for Westmoreland Eastern, MP George Wright, MP Wilson, Mayor Councillor Bertil Moore, Mr. Floyd McLean, Mr. Jason Stewart, Mr. Adrian Hamilton, Ms. Sophia Mitchell from the ODPEM, Mr. Rowan Brown from the Met Service. Minister thanked SDC. I want to also thank the Jamaica Fire Brigade, the National Road Safety Council, the JPS, the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, National Solid Waste Management Authority, National Works Agency, the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Our media partners, the NNN and the Power 106. And then at this time, to officially close, all rise for the national anthem.